Hello, and welcome to the Transformational Storytellers show. I am so excited to be here with you today because it is May, and therefore it is Mental Health Awareness Month, and we wear green. We wear green for mental health, and it is really something that I'm really passionate about, as you may know by now. And I definitely think it's important that we address mental health, that we destigmatize mental health, and that we absolutely take a stand for our own mental health. And that's something that we want to discuss today. I'm going to be sharing a few thoughts with you, just what comes to my heart, but I also want to share some poems with you that I think are really important in this month, but in every day, because our mental health really deserves attention every single day. So I would love for you to share with me what comes up during this conversation. And if you have any questions, post it in the comments and say hi for sure, because I want to hear from you. And let's see, what am I gonna do first? Well, first let's talk, let's read a poem. Which one should we read? This is coming from my Dancing with Death poetry book. Um, let's see. I think I want to read Performance Critic. Let's see. Actually, I think I want to read Misplaced Move. And something that is interesting about this book is that I wrote a poem every day for 21 days. This is a challenge that my daughter and I did together. And so that's why the book is dedicated to her. Let's see the dedication page here. It says, to Alicia, my firstborn and partner in poetry. Isn't that amazing? She's been my partner in poetry for many years. Not only in making this book, but also the many poems she's inspired me to write over the years. Okay, so Misplaced Move. I'm gonna read that one for you and let me know what you think. Victimhood is not a mentality. It's being through cruel brutality. Victimhood is making sense of the world when its atrocities have come unfurled. Victimhood is haunting song, saying you're broken, you don't belong. Victimhood is altered brain chemistry. There's no safety, no serenity. Victimhood is not self-inflicted, but an outraged cry from the afflicted. Victimhood is being robbed of innocence, identity fogged. Victimhood is a sharp sword when your misstep inflicts remorse. Victimhood is a lethal state when you didn't choose that dreadful fate. Victimhood is feeling a tragic loss while others witness it and scoff. Victimhood is not about pity. It's ruins, shackles. It's not pretty. Victimhood is not crippling stance. It's in the choreography of this dance. So I call this poem Misplaced Mood because it's a reality. Being a victim is a reality. It says it's natural to feel like a victim when you have been victimized. It's normal. That's the normal reaction to victimhood is being a victim. And I really, think about mental health awareness as understanding that we all are victims of something, and that the very essence of the word victim means that it is not your fault. It means that something was done to you and that it is something negative. So it is not a mentality, like I said. It says, your emotions are valid. Emotions are neither good nor bad, neither positive nor negative. Emotions shine a bright light into what is happening inside of us. They are messengers, right? It says here, right, rather than fighting the messenger, it's best to allow yourself to process the news. I think that this is a very important poem for me because over the years, I see so many people talk about people having victim mentality and people playing the victim. And it's very important to realize that it is not a play, it is not an act, it is a reality that many of us face. Now, you might say, well, then are we all going to live like we're wounded forever? Yes and no. Because as we allow people to express how they feel after they're victimized, they are able to then access the prefrontal cortex, so frontal cortex activity, because the amygdala starts to calm. And this is very important because neuroscience teaches us that when we validate our feelings, when we validate others' feelings, then we start to basically access that nervous system calmness so that we can make better choices, so that we can feel understood, heard, and witnessed in your pain. And when we don't feel alone anymore, we're able to go from post-traumatic stress into post-traumatic growth. And so people like me who have been through extreme trauma several times forever. And I laugh because, of course, forever is a hyperbole. People like me who have been through so much trauma, I've been diagnosed with CPTSD, which is complex post-traumatic stress disorder. And you look at the growth that we've been able to experience, and just the accomplishments, the achievements, the expansion and the evolution of someone like me. It is not because we're a unicorn or we're special or we're, you know, more than or stronger than or anything like that. We are all the same. We have the same capacity to overcome. And the thing is, the secret is whether we're witnessing our pain or not. As a matter of fact, I just did an announcement in one of my reels. I was showing, of course, you're all familiar with your Date Your Pain journal because we have talked about it before, but it is now in Spanish and it's called Cita con tu dolor. Let me know in the comments if you have any of these journals. And one of these things, it's a very simple journal that allows you to go through a journey of dating your pain. And what is dating your pain is actually just taking a few minutes every time you need it, but I do it daily. It's part of my morning ritual to date my pain by processing, allowing myself to process and validate this pain. You can see this process in my third TEDx talk, which was given at MCPHS, is the Medicine and Health and Pharmacy College in Boston, Massachusetts, where I delivered my third TEDx talk of five that I have delivered. And the process, you can see it explained there. It is see, sense, and say. And in seeing, you're accessing, so you're thinking about accessing any memory or any distress that that you want to process to allow yourself to have this date with your pain so that your pain knows that you're going to have time for it so that we don't store it longer than we need to. And so we go and date our pain, we access the pain, the painful memory, experience, or thought. And then we feel it in our body. That's the second S, which is sense. And then we go after we have identified that sensation in our body and where our pain is manifesting, then we go into the third S, which is say. And in say, what we're saying are validating phrases. The journal actually has a lot of, let me look at the English one, a lot of validating phrases. And actually, you can take those phrases and color them because it's also a coloring book, and coloring is so good for our mental health. Oh my gosh. So this one says, your pain is real and it matters. Your pain is real and it matters. So let's say that you're dating your pain, and that's something that you want to say to yourself in the third person. So I would say, Elina, your pain is real and it matters. So, neuroscience has proven that when we talk to ourselves in the third person, it creates psychological distance, and it allows that stimulus pause that Viktor Frankl talked about. How does that quote go? It goes from stimulus to reaction. There's a pause, right? And in that pause lies our freedom, right? Because that's freedom of choice. And it allows us to access that prefrontal cortex and that frontal activity that's going to be a regulated choice. And so validation allows us to regulate. And so when we're providing that for ourselves every day, then we're not going to rely on other people's validation, which is important too, because then in turn, we're also going to be more validating to others as we acknowledge our pain and don't use the 3D bypassing techniques, which are downplaying, denying, or dismissing our pain. So we're not doing any of that. We're not going to do it for others, right? So basically, what we're thinking about is, let me date my pain, feel it to heal it, name it to tame it, validate it so that I can process it. And when I do that, I'm going to experience that freedom. I'm going to access my regulated self, I'm going to gain perspective. I'm going to gain wisdom because pain can become my sacred teacher. It can become a wise friend. It can become a portal to purpose, to progress, to peace. And then I can be an instrument of peace at home, at work, and in the world. That is beautiful. And I have experienced that. I also have experienced, oh boy, the tragedy that it is when I am dysregulated and I have not acknowledged my own pain and I am relying on someone else to provide that validation for me. And I have been codependent, dependent on that person to witness me, to acknowledge me, to validate me, to soothe me, because inevitably they're going to fall short. I wrote a poem in which let me find it because I haven't published it yet. And it's just so little. It's just so short. But I will read it for you. Um, and it's just a very simple concept. Is misunderstood is the title. And it says, you will never understand me. And that's the good news. Yeah, I want to cry thinking about that every time. That's why I wanted to read it. You will never understand me. And that's the good news, because this pain has to be felt to be understood. And I think about, the people in my life that I deeply love, and the people in my life who deeply love me and they don't understand me. They can't, and they never will, because unless they suffer the same pain, they will not be able to validate that pain because they don't understand it. And that's the good news, right? Like, we don't want them to go through that pain. And that's the dichotomy and the opposition in that, right? Like, we want to be understood, and yet we don't want them to express pain. And that's why it's so paradoxical, I believe, that many times we rejoice in finding a story like ours, right? Like, it's not that we are happy that someone went through the same as us, but we are seen through their story. I always say that our vulnerability will liberate others, right? And that's why, because we feel understood when someone has been through the same pain. And so it is unrealistic to put that burden onto the people we love to understand us and to validate us. And we are all guilty of that. I mean, it happens with everyone. I don't know everyone in my life who I haven't expected that they were going to respond in a certain right way when I have shared something painful. But what happens is that as we date our pain and we take responsibility for processing those times in which we've been victims and those times in which we've experienced pain, then we're not going to rely on others. We're going to take that charge and we're going to definitely be more regulated throughout our days and nights. So tell me if this is resonating with you, um, because I definitely am rambling. I'm just sharing my heart right now. It is Mental Health Awareness Month, and we wear green for mental health. Um, May 15th is a day in which we all wear green to provide support, to take a stand, and to stop stigmatizing mental health. And I'm talking mostly about PTSD, but there are so many layers of, just what we carry as humans. And I always say that pain is the common thread of humanity. And one thing that I am passionate about eradicating from our world is that of comparative suffering, like who suffered more, or whether your experience is worse than mine or mine is worse than yours. And it is not right, because in one I'm minimizing my own pain, in the other I'm minimizing yours and making it into a competition. And we all know about how I feel about competition. Not a fan. Not a fan. I always say that we only compete to lose. Yeah. And I stand by that. It's one of my Elena-isms that I just truly believe we only compete to lose. So with that being said, let's stop comparing our pain. It is valid. All feelings, all emotions are valid. All they are real, and they come up to be healed. And so whether we can be instruments for others and validating their pain and saying, you know what, like I don't understand it, but you're not alone. I'm here for you. It matters to me how you feel. Your pain matters to me. I feel your pain. I I I can't fix it. And I'm not trying to, but I'm trying to tell you that you matter to me and that I'm here. That's it. In my first TEDx talk, I talked about hold them and hold your pain, hold your tongue. Hold them and hold your tongue. And this is something that I I learned in one of the hardest moments of my life. And I'm sure you've seen that TEDx talk and know about my story. But sometimes we think that we have to motivate people and tell them it's gonna be okay. And just really inspire them and encourage them. I call this three lethal weapons: assurance, affirmation, and advice. And that feels like we're fixing their problem, we're easing their pain, or we're eliminating whatever is wrong in this matter. But what we're doing is invalidating someone with that assurance that everything's going to be okay, or that everything happens for a reason, or that everything works together for good. And it is true. It is true. So I'm not saying that it's not true. I'm saying that it's not helpful. And as a matter of fact, that it can be harmful. It can actually send us spiraling down. And so, providing advice is also not going to help, because again, I am dysregulated in that moment. I am still raw in my pain, and I am not in a place to take action. So whatever advice you're giving to me, it's not going to be put into implementation or be incorporated right now. So if you don't have any validating thoughts, it's better to be quiet. Maybe hold their hand, maybe put your hand on their shoulder, maybe just nod in agreement and just be silent. And it's not that saying of, oh, if you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything, right? Because it's not about being nice, it's about being kind. I sometimes don't have nice things to say, and I say them. But they are coming from kindness. It is a very, very important distinction. And so the third thing, so I covered advice and assurance. Okay, affirmation. Oh my gosh. Don't get me started with affirmations. I call this motivational shame, these three components. And the affirmation can be so lethal. It can be absolutely lethal. Because when we affirm others in the moment in which they're experiencing pain, guess what? They don't feel loved. They don't feel understood. They don't feel seen. They feel alone. It's like you're completely dismissing what they're going through. They feel like, oh my gosh, my pain doesn't matter. My pain is invisible. I am invisible. I don't matter. And it's like, just do it, just get over it. It's in the past. Why are you acting like a victim? Why are you playing the victim? What happened to you doesn't define you. There are so many ways in which we could say this, and yet it is not helpful. It is not helpful because right now I am in pain, and what I need is someone to acknowledge that I am in pain or to let me process it on my own. You don't have to get involved most of the time. So feel free to step away and let people process their own thing, or be there for them and just offer your presence. I have a comment here. Let me read it. Oh, thank you, Jaylin. She said, thank you for sharing this information. Picking up a pen was life-saving for me. It's those raw, garbled words that come out poetic, and they are medicine. Yeah, I always say that storytelling is medicine, and stories are medicines, and storytellers are healing. Raw words from in the moment of feeling it. Thank you. I can feel it. Thank you, Jaylin. And I can't wait to send you your hardcover copy of Ridiculous Thoughts. Um, I'm just so grateful that you read my poems before they were even published. And speaking of ridiculous thoughts, I just got this in the mail today because it's fresh off the press, right? And this illustration is actually one that I commissioned, and it was for my fifth TEDx talk, which is about suicidal thoughts and the stigma of suicide. And I gave that TEDx talk. I delivered it at the University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign, and that is in Chicago. Well, it's about 2 hours from Chicago, but it's in Illinois. And so I was talking about how I have notebooks of, all of these beautiful thoughts that look like thorns and bats. And so that's what that's about. Let me say goodbye with a poem from this book. And let's see which one I will choose for mental health. They are all about that. But I will say, mm, Be positive, which is number 49. Let's go to page 49. On page 49. Okay. I think that, yeah. All right, let's see. Be positive. Positivity is not denying what happened. It turned out okay. That's gaslighting. Positivity is not dismissing what you're feeling. It's okay. That's invalidation. Positivity is not downplaying what could happen. It will be okay. That's avoidance. Positivity is discovering it's not okay if it's not truth, light, divine. Positivity is discerning what's okay, what to change, how to act. Positivity is deciding it's okay to cry when it's hard. Because feelings of it turned out okay, it's okay, it will be okay. They're invalidating, they're gaslighting, their avoidance. And the best thing to do is to acknowledge our pain, to really live by our pain, to really understand that our pain is what unites us as human, that pain is an opportunity to sit in the presence of your own discomfort and be in that purifying fire so that you can grow, so that you can also be a presence for others to usher their growth, not because you're shaming them with positivity, but because you are actually understanding, seeing, witnessing the pain that they're going through. One of the tools that I have created for processing our pain is called the Trauma Survivors Mantra, and that's here in the State Your Pain Journal. And the Trauma Survivors Mantra, it goes like this: It did happen. It was bad. It was a big deal. It doesn't matter if they meant it or not. I reject the shame. I didn't deserve it. Those statements are going to help you validate your pain. And when you validate your pain, you will process it and you will find peace, progress, purpose, presence, and positive growth. So tell me what resonated from what I shared today. Are there any Elena-isms that stood out to you? Are there any phrases that you're going to take with you as you navigate your own pain? And which poem was your favorite? I wanna hear that, and I'll be sharing more with you, and I'll be back next week on the Transformational Storyteller Show.